kidnapped at 20, married 3 times, widowed 3 times before she was 26. Elizabeth de Clare possessed the kind of fortune medieval men were willing to risk everything to control. She was the granddaughter of Edward I and daughter of Joan of Acre. At only 13, Elizabeth married John de Burgh, heir to the Earl of Ulster, and later gave birth to their son, William. Then her brother, Gilbert de Clare, was killed at the Battle of Bannockburn in 1314 without surviving children. Suddenly, Elizabeth and her 2 sisters inherited the enormous de Clare fortune. Elizabeth became one of England's richest heiresses, and that made her dangerously valuable. While Edward II was arranging another marriage for her, Theobald de Verdun abducted Elizabeth from Bristol Castle and married her without the king's permission. But there's a fascinating complication. Theobald claimed that he and Elizabeth had already agreed to marry, meaning this may have been less a kidnapping than an attempt to escape royal control over her remarriage. We simply don't know. Within 6 months, Theobald was dead. Elizabeth was pregnant. She gave birth to their daughter Isabel, and only weeks later Edward II married the young widow again. Her 3rd husband was Roger d'Amory, one of the king's powerful favorites. They had another daughter, but Roger eventually turned against Edward and joined a rebellion. He died in 1322, while Elizabeth and her daughters were detained at Barking Abbey. She was only about 26, 3 husbands, 3 children, and she was finished with marriage. Elizabeth remained unmarried for the rest of her life and eventually regained control over much of her property. She managed vast estates, supported religious institutions, and became an extraordinary patron of education. Her greatest surviving legacy is at Cambridge. She provided the endowment and statutes that helped establish the college eventually known as Clare College. Men spent Elizabeth de Clare's youth fighting to control her fortune. Once she finally controlled it herself, she used that fortune to build something that has survived for nearly 7 centuries.